welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series here in Montreal, Canada, as we are making our way through group stage number 3. Don't worry, the games are just as good as the wonderful food here. I'm Nathanius, joined on the desk by In Control and Pig. And if there's one thing that we've been pigging out on, it's been some great StarCraft, hasn't it, Jared?
It's been incredible, Nathanius. The day might have started out a little bit slow with a couple of 2-0s, but it's gotten hot, it's gotten heavy, it's gotten very exciting. And the next one, honestly, the matches are about to actually heat up a lot because we finally get some fan favorites on stage, hey?
Yeah, our qualifying players are coming in Control. A lot of people looking forward to seeing Scarlett play particularly.
I'm just dazed at that low-key shade from Pig saying, finally, we get some fan favorites. You know what? There's some fan favorites in every one of these players.
Yeah, I meant some closer matches.
I know.
You know what I was getting at.
I'm
just hurt. It's my job. This is what I do.
You're hurt Fear Dragon's feelings, man. A lot of NA players were in those first 2 stages, you know.
There's been some interesting matches so far, but yes, they, you know, Ravi's idea of where the matches are going to go and where they actually go. Sometimes there's a slight disconnect somewhere in the middle, but we love you anyway, Ravi, as our resident NA expert. You've always got big dreams, and that's what counts.
It's important to dream big. I mean, for some of these players, dreams are on the cusp of being realized. We did get to see Jon Snow, who's had a pretty good performance. If we're looking at NA players that we think have a shot, his group doable. But our next match, I think, is just a killer one. Anyone watching this is something that you're super excited to see. uThermal going up against Scarlett. Let's start with uThermal. He's the player that has taken maps off of Cyril.
Oh my lord!
Yeah. But he's had an interesting year. I mean, I feel like he spent half of this year playing Protoss, Pig.
No.
Maybe not half of the year, but definitely a very memorable moment at Home Story Cup where he showed that he does have what it takes to do a pretty good cannon rush. You know, I can't remember all the games. I'm pretty sure there's probably some Dark Templar made at some point as well. Just throwing that out there as a guess because, let's face it, when someone off-races Protoss, they build cannons, they make Dark Templars, and if they really want to go crazy, they make carriers as well.
I mean, I main race Protoss, and that's what I do, so.
Yeah, that's the best way to play. In Control, Scarlett, though, has had an interesting year. When you look at WCS performance, it's not crazy, but she had that Intel Extreme Masters Pyeongchang victory earlier this year and still has been doing well. People have still been talking about her gameplay. Her non-WCS performances have been something to remark at, but what's been holding her back?
Scarlett is an interesting player where she plays really, really well when she kind of, it sounds weird to say, it's when she feels like it. So when she's way into the game, when she's training really hard, she's deep into the meta and really enjoying it, one of the absolute best. But she is a player that plays year-round, and like other pro gamers, it's tough to keep up that grind. It's tough to be motivated to do that all the time, and she's been around for a few years, so we sometimes see her drop off. That being said, here in front of this home crowd, which she's talked a number of times about, and with this being the last WCS stop, I feel like there's enough push behind her to make her one of the scariest players in this tournament for sure.
And I think a lot of people here have been saying that they think Scarlett is one of the very few players that you would say without conjecture that she could actually beat Cyril. Do you agree, Pig?
She has beaten Cyril, right? You know, absolutely. We have the stats to back up that claim. She did take him down 3-1 when she won Pyeongchang earlier this year, which was obviously a huge victory. But I think she's shown she's willing to take some risks. She does some wild kind of upgraded Zergling openings, and she managed to quite decisively beat Cyril there, where Cyril was one of the favorites for that tournament. She also, in the most recent WCS circuit stop, went down 2-3. And it could have been a 3-1. She was in a big advantage on Darkness Sanctuary. You know, she mentioned herself, she underestimated the Roach Ling push that came out. She just needed to build a few spine crawlers and she would have won that game. So it's something where Scarlett can definitely take down Cyril. And historically, the start of this year, uThermal was knocking Cyril down a lot. So it's fascinating to see 2 players who are both kind of the potential slayer of Cyril going head-to-head. It's going to be a good ZVT.
Yep, we're ready to introduce the players up on the stage. Smix, ready to bring in our Canadian hometown favorite?
I am ready indeed. It's Team Shibu versus Team Canada. Let's hear from the crowd yourselves. Are you guys ready for Scarlett? Definitely the loudest. I've heard them all of today. Let's bring them out on stage. Oh, here we are. Scarlett's already out here. Where are you, uThermal?
There he is, Mark Schlappy.
Ready to rock and roll. Maybe a little intimidated by that cheer, as the Canadian StarCraft fan base is known for being very loud. when it comes time for competition.
Very apologetic, very polite,
but very loud.
sometimes boisterous, yes.
Very competitive. Scarlett, a fan favorite, a player that somehow falls into this group of players that need to perform extremely well here to make it to the global finals at the end of the year. Someone that cannot really afford to go out in this stage.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of cool because these are the stories where it's like it's your last chance and you need to hit a home run here to get through to that next point. I mean, you could kind of argue the same for this man, for Mark Schlappy as well. You know, he's at rank 11 right now with the updated standings from today's points. Scarlett's at rank 15. Both of them need to be making it to that finals if they want to get to BlizzCon.
Yeah, I think the scary thing for uThermal is that he's got the ability to do it as well. So that's kind of, it's a weird thing that we don't talk very much about, but if it's like, I have to beat these impossible people, you kind of put it away and you're like, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, but if it's super possible, it becomes even scarier.
Yeah, I think that's one of the more interesting things about this particular matchup, as not surprised to see a lot of people online favoring Scarlett as a player here. Huge favorite, huge fan base behind her. But these are two players that you can say, oh yeah, we'd say that they need to make it deep, but they can actually get there, as opposed to some of our other hopefuls that we're not really that sure about.
You know, we talk a lot about consistency, and the reason we talk about Showtime more, Need more, Sterile more, is they've got the consistency there, Nurtio as well, right? This year, uThermal and Scarlett have had flashes of brilliance where they've taken down the best players in the world, but it hasn't been the same level of consistency. Sometimes they do go out early in a group stage. So it's something where either of these players, if they're having a good day, if they're having a good weekend, if they're feeling the crowd behind them, they can pick it up and make that run. But it's always an unsure thing. We're kind of looking at, we're saying, which version of these players are going to come out today?
Yeah.
And what a better way to test it than against another player who could potentially be playing at the absolute top level in the world.
And Control, what does uThermal need to do to beat Scarlett? Do we pick him as an underdog in this series because of the momentum that she has behind her, because she's further behind in WCS points?
Yeah, I think you got to play to your basics. Scarlett, her ZVT is a little bit unknown. She plays mostly in Korea, and we see her versus a lot of Protoss and a lot of Zerg, but her ZVT we don't get to see as often in this non-Korean world because we don't have that many Terrans. But uThermal is a pace dictator. He's not a defensive player, not a turtle guy. He's a guy that wants to open up with a strategy and kind of maintain that throughout the game. Stick to your basics. Don't mix it up too much just because you're playing Scarlett.
Yeah, I personally want to see her make borrowed banelings just because I want to see Scarlett bring out what she's, been very famous for in a few key moments. Honestly, I'd love the games to get down and dirty. I agree with what Jeff said. uThermal's going to be looking to be aggressive.
Yeah.
But Scarlett has this special relationship with Zerg versus Terran. She feels so confident in this matchup. She has times that she gets a bit frustrated against Zerg. She struggles against Protoss. Against Terran, she loves this matchup. This is her in her element.
All right, well, let's see if Scarlett is in her element as we get into this next series. It's time for Scarlett versus uThermal.
Thank you so much, Nate. My name is Fear Dragon. I'm joined by Zombie Grub here at the caster desk, and this series is going to be an exciting one. It's also a repeat from WCS Valencia.
It is indeed. But this time it is in Scarlett's.
Home turf?
Yes.
Okay, we'll go with that. All right, but spawning down here, ladies and gentlemen, we have the blue Terran player from Team Liquid. He is uThermal. Got his little puppy there.
Little pimpy. Shiba.
Stuffed puppy.
In the top right has the red Zerg. I know you guys are going to go for her, so I don't have to ask. It is Scarlett.
Crowd very much behind her. That home turf territory can really play the difference. But you're kind of alluding to this, but uThermal at Valencia in the group stage 3 did manage to best Scarlett 2-0. Can he do it again, or will Scarlett change the tide in Montreal?
I think Montreal has done pretty well with her. I mean, she hasn't won, or I believe she didn't make it to the semifinals, but she has had those I think she's going to be stopped here because she has never been a player that everyone's like, well, yes, she will do very well. We always talk about how she can be hot and cold. It's been a narrative for quite some time. But Montreal always seems to be like, well, I think she might get stopped here, and then boom, she brings it back. She reverse kills. She, it's not quite the ultimate magic, at level 100 quite yet, but it's got some magic to it, and I do believe Scarlett is due for that time where she peaks in WCS. He almost was able to do it, but Sterile stopped her in Valencia, actually.
And actually, I feel like that also puts the emphasis and the importance on this match in particular. For Group Stage 3, yes, this is the winner match. This is the one that says one player is going to make it over to the playoffs, the other player is going to get knocked down to a decider match. So you're not out of the event just yet. But because that happened at Valencia, that's how Scarlett got matched up against Cyril in the first round of the playoffs. So being able to get out first in your group is super important when you start thinking about the playoffs, because that's how you end up versus players like Cyril, like me.
I mean, I know Scarlett beat Nurchio to get here, but I didn't realize Nurchio was already out of the group. That's...
Yeah, 2-0 by Hearthstone.
Wow, that is, well, that's really something to talk about, as we have a regular Reaper harassment that's actually going quite well, so that part is not too regular. Almost got a second drone, and that's almost unheard of at this level.
I mean, at this level of play, it's usually pretty unordinary if you end up losing even a 1 drone. Maybe you lose a Ling or 2 here and there, but Zerg players have gotten so good about it. Third base does come down successfully, though, for Scarlett. She managed to get that third base right before the Reaper shows up.
Yeah, kind of clever, hiding it. So uThermal is playing, so here Marine, you know, cast just last series, was doing a couple of weirder builds, but it seems like he really isn't a fan of sorry, the Hellions, you know, and just into Banshees. He does open up with Hellions, it's just maybe not so typical. At least a third CC, which is actually what uThermal is doing, right? He went for a faster third CC, and then he went for the Starport, which might be for Medivac first, for instance. Might be a little more powerful. It'd also go into Banshees, but we'll see. The Reaper is once again getting very thorough scouting. Usually, you don't see the Terran players like bother, but he must have also thought that he could have gotten drone.
Yeah, I mean, I always just see the Reaper, and even though it's been a while since the 3 racks Reaper days of old, uThermal always was one of those players that love that Reaper control. It's always been showing, even well beyond that time, how good his Reaper control really is.
Yeah, sure. It was like the, you know, I usually go with the flow most of the time, but I was like, I think uThermal might actually have the best Reaper micro, and everyone's like, no, no. Anyways, it is going to be Hellion Banshee from him. So it's, I mean, it's expected in a lot of ways, right? But it's not going to be with Cloak, so it might just be the 1. And this kind of helps out defensively if they do like a type of push, especially with Roaches, not necessarily against Ling pushes, but certainly against Roaches. And then you can maybe follow up with something like, he could even go for a Raven, actually, to clear stuff up, which, yeah, could be a plan.
I mean, you always think about Scarlett, you talk about her creep spread a lot of the time, so it wouldn't be the worst idea there for sure. But for now, Squid is starting to get pushed out along one side, but not quite over by the third. And Thermal, not quite able to shut down that creep tumor.
He has enough gas now that he actually went for Stim. Alrighty then.
So he's just going to go into the bio play. Now, I know we saw that mech play out of Pure Marine versus True, but I was talking with Roddy about that, and he was just saying, like, yeah, you know what? That's probably just a thing for True, because True has a very weird style. Scarlett can actually play a pretty diverse arrangements of styles, but it's very, very different from True.
Yes. It's funny, like we need like a 20-minute talk show to talk about the differences of how weird Silky versus True versus Scarlett was.
Those NA Zergs, none of them are the same. Even No Regret kind of fits in his own little basket.
You were absolutely right. NA Zergs, man, what are they?
Even Jon Snow is kind of his own little brand.
There you go. We do have a lair now on the way for Scarlett, who was not really that phased by the Banshee. It wasn't meant to do very much.
The Hellions really didn't even shut down that creep spread.
Well, unfortunately, and I think Kalash will be like, it's so difficult to actually do anything about the creep spread. The queens survive, basically, unless you do like a hellbat attack, right? So if the queens survive, you're like, yes, they got like 4 creep tumors, that's awesome, and then they plant them all and they pop, and you're like, oh, all right then.
I feel like I am having no effect here.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like the Hellions, like, yes, it's cool if they can deny a creep to like one creep path or another, because it's always like they have like those 2 creep paths that does pretty well, but the third one like lags behind. It's more like, well, these are definitely going to help out, kind of keep tabs on the Lings, keep tabs on what is being produced.
Right.
Do Roaches suddenly appear and tag a Hellion? Well, that's, you know, different response than from the Terran player, but they are really just going at it macro-wise. uThermal with the faster TV they're going to put in the ground. Scarlett with 4 hatcheries, but we finally have a bit of a mix-up. Mutas.
Okay, Muta's going to be popping on out for Scarlett eventually. And I also want to note that +1 armor upgrade for uThermal, a little bit further behind on that +1 weapons for both him and also for Scarlett's 1/1 upgrade. So that upgrade being a little bit slower, it does hurt, especially when you talk about Mutas and the Gladeworm bounces.
That's actually a really good point. I mean, in general, this is clearly a mistake. He had both engineering bays, and it's a very big discrepancy, which Scarlett's like a little closer together, but we'll see if it actually impacts. It'd be quite unfortunate if he has a good siege up and then that's the one timing, right?
At least does get the armory down so he can start with that 2-2 pretty quickly as well.
Yeah, but going into a second factory, his automatic feeling about this game is probably that it is going to be Hydras. So Mutas would only pop out in each like map pool, right? So each season on one map. I think last season it was 16-bit, and then you had some other Zerg starting to really try and bring it back, but it never really it's never really the thing to do in TvZ. People from Heart of the Swarm that are watching StarCraft 2 again, they're like, what? Hold on here. But yeah, so this should be a bit of a shock to uThermal. And tanks are bad against this style, but he might want to transition. Oh, his combat shields was late.
Oh boy.
This might still be okay, assuming that Scarlett doesn't actually swamp him before he's ready.
Bailing speed is not quite finished as yet. I mean, it's still going to finish well before combat shields, but this does buy a little bit of time. Bailing speed about to finish up, but Scarlett has full vision of this army out on her creep.
That's really deep on a creep. This entire army.
This is getting super aggressive. Scarlett does have some weird angles she could try and engage this in from, but this up high ground location kind of is weird to push into. You are just moving through 2 different ramps.
Well, this is exactly what he wants to avoid, is being swamped by 3 different angles, potentially. The meters reveal themselves, but funnily enough, it was probably better for her to wait, because if they were popped out and a surprise at 8 or 9, they actually probably get that tank.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel like there should be... Okay, well, immediately we end up seeing uThermal just kind of retreat out of there saying, okay, I'm not making anything more happen there. Do you feel like there needs to be any kind of massive reaction to the mutas here from uThermal?
No, actually. I mean, he already got missile turrets on his mineral line, so, I mean, that's such a low count, too. Like, you really aren't worried about him. There might be a slight worry that she's going to go into a lot of mutas, because Scarlett certainly was dominant during that, like, heavy muta period, but it's actually, as we see it, we go into station pain. He'll certainly keep tabs on the hive timing, and just, you know, don't get frustrated because of the mutas, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a large potential run by, or just surrounds.
Oh, this could be massive.
Okay, run by.
Scarlett, okay, she's going to just go for the run by, like you said. The depot is down, and Scarlett gets in with all the lings. The Banelings deciding over the 3rd base, and then reconsider, you know what? Let's bust down these engineering bays. Shut down those upgrades, but uThermal going across the map, trying to get some damage done to his own.
If those are the only Banelings on the defensive, then she might be in trouble. The trick to this really is if you force the Terran to run onto creep and you have like 20 or 30 Banelings, because there are more morphing, then really the Terran usually put in the worst position. They lose their upgrades, their economy, their production often enough, and they put themselves into a very vulnerable position because they think that it's on a clock, and it certainly is. So here come the Banelings now. Some decent connections, but a good split, good concave from uThermal. He's still got army to work with, but is it enough?
Oh man, uThermal still does have a little bit left over. He's losing a lot back at home, so this is very much the most all-in of all-in positions you could be in as uThermal. But we have Scarlett finishing up that 2-2. She's gonna start losing some of those drones, losing the Queen. Mutas find the Sage Shanks, a beautiful pickoff for Scarlett here, and that may help her out with any Baneling shots she makes from here on out.
Ooh, this is getting really interesting. There's a 30 army supply difference, but that could drastically change if uThermal isn't paying attention for 1 second on creep. We have more Banelings morphing, some tumbling down. He's cleaned up like maybe a few creep tumors here and there, but it really wasn't his focus, and now he's lost an entire command center orbital. So he's got to be careful. He's always going to be like swimming upstream, basically trying to do stuff on creep.
Yeah, Scarlett losing some of the units on the retreat, but here we go. The Banelings looking for those marine connections. uThermal with reinforcements coming forward, though. He looks like he has more than enough, and he has so many medevacs to work with, even a Banshee in the mix there.
Oh, wow, this is getting really close, but uThermal, if he continues rallying forward, he still has 2 bases, 23 workers. He's still got the mules. He's not bothering with any scans. He's got a Thor now to help out against the mutas. GG.
uThermal gonna end up taking that first game in his favor, saying, "You know what, Scarlett? You may be on home turf, but I remember what happened not but a month or 2 ago."
Dang, that is such a scary situation for Terran players, and if that was a bigger map, it could have been very different. That's 10 extra Banelings. That's him actually being a little more indecisive and thinking maybe I should come home, right? There's so many like different seconds, different timelines, universes where seconds of difference is Scarlett actually winning that game, but uThermal ended up actually making the right call by just committing.
Yeah, really, really scary situation for both of those players, absolutely. Scarlett was able to get a lot of economic damage done there, and it really looked like, the creep spread oftentimes really, really important in those engagements. The fact that uThermal was being so aggressive onto the creep and not bothering to clean a lot of it up. I know I was getting a little bit tense there. I was like, so uThermal, this is not how you're supposed to normally engage into a Zerg army, but realizing the time was of the essence, he makes the right calls, and he makes it work in a really weird situation.
Yeah. Another point is, like, if she had maybe 10 or 15 of those Banelings that were offensive back at home, that probably makes no difference in the amount of damage she does, but it makes it a big difference in the defense that she has. Base trade's always going to be wonky situations. We as the casters have the all-seeing eye, but even that was hard to call, and Scar's usually very good in those situations too.
Yeah.
But I gotta the Mutas ended up not really doing what they wanted, I think. They sniped 2 tanks, but I feel like that wasn't actually the linchpin.
She didn't even really keep uThermal at home, which is another thing that a lot of the time the Mutas are looking to do, because uThermal was already out on the map by the time the Mutas actually popped, and then Scarlett went for the big Ling Baneling red buy, but she needed those Mutas back at home to help out with the defense, because there were more than enough Lings and Banelings to clean up the third and the natural.
Yeah.
She didn't really get a lot of use out of those Mutas, you're right.
I don't want to say I want to guarantee, but when you play Ling Baneling Muta, like it is really like a good idea to try and just keep them back, right? That is the idea. But the other idea is that if you don't, then you're faster, more mobile, you can fly over terrain, and hopefully you also have a decent number of Mutas. That composition usually can do well in those situations, but not that time. However, there's at least one more game to be played, and I'm sure all of you are cheering for at least 2 more, as you get into Acid Plant in the bottom right. As the Blue Terran taking the last game, Nailbiter, it is the Blue Terran uThermal.
And spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, it's the red Zerg player from Team Tolan's Lions. It is Scarlett. Crowd still showing that support. Looking somber after that first game.
Yeah. A little bit, yeah. But, you know, my this first WCS, you know, Montreal's a special place in my heart, right? It's the first WCS that I got to cast. And now this is the first WCS that we're casting together.
I
so
know.
It's super special, guys. But anyways, it was the hypest match, I think, was that she was down 2-0 against Harsum and then brought it back. So
she had a bunch of really close series last year with Harsum. I think she also had a really close series versus Kelzer or something.
Yes, I feel like being a Scarlett fan, there are straight disappointments, right? She just loses in a tournament, but there's almost like no safe moments where you're like, yeah, well, she did that so like, you know, single-handed like that. That was no big deal. You're always like a little scared.
Well, that's what makes it so exciting being a Scarlett fan. there's never a dull moment.
Yeah, I suppose. Oh gosh, uThermal. You know, I guess we're talking so much about Scarlett because, you know, I think it's obvious by now. But uThermal, as you know, for a while there, the foreign Terran hope at this point, special locked in at BlizzCon, performance at last year's BlizzCon. He is, you know, the best, I think, foreigner Terran. But uThermal is always like on his heels, and he always was like, well, he should be winning or getting really far in WCSs, and it's not quite happened. Nation War is another one where it was like he was supposed to be the real heavy hitter and actually ended up being Harsum. But I feel like if his attitude is in the right place and his practice regimen is in the right place, and he said he felt good in our video earlier today, then I feel like he certainly has the potential to go on to the round of 4, but maybe even the finals.
Yeah, he made it to the round of 8 last time, got knocked down by Hero Marine in the playoffs at Valencia. So, I mean, he's made some of the deep runs. He's even been a tournament winner before, but
yeah,
it's been a bit, and I think he really is looking for something like a semifinals or further run.
Yeah, and well, again, going back to the group, Nurchio's already out of this group that these 2 players are in.
As in eliminated out of the group, not made it to the playoffs.
Right.
It's always confusing worded.
Yeah, but he's eliminated, so it's already out. But like, I feel like these 2 do have a strong chance of just getting out in general. This is a winner's match after all. Yeah, who's the 4th person? Someone, Harsum. That's we're just talking about him.
Yep.
Yeah. Harsum's another guy where if he's actually in his element, he's gonna have that one performance soon enough.
His PvZ has been looking a little bit interesting lately. He's been going for a lot of those triple Stargate plays and stuff, but we might be jumping a bit ahead of ourselves right now, as we do see this game is still in game number 2.
Right.
We're gonna end up seeing Cyclone being made.
Saw some Hero Marine. Again, like, it's not necessarily about the damage that this can do. Oh. That's such a lame death.
That's really unfortunate too, because I think when you get the Cyclone, usually if you're trying to go for a little bit of that push out, it's really nice having the Reaper alive, right?
Well, I feel like Reaper, you know, there was a time in Heart of the Swarm where like you made 3 Reapers and Hellions, you could win the game. The Reaper really is undervalued as a pushing unit with the Hellions now. And it might be because, like, well, as I was saying last game, sometimes Hellions just seem like they're not that useful. But for this, like, yeah, the Reaper dies, but you want to focus entirely on the drop, make sure that stays alive, because it's usually about the follow-up. And you could very well be going into the armory follow-up, something that Scarlett's going to be a lot more afraid of. The Cyclones, the 4 Marines, like, that's not going to be, that shouldn't be that big of a deal. But you don't pay attention to Liberator, you don't follow up with if they have a follow-up with the army, you don't pay attention. Like, that's when things get a little scary.
All right, well, there is a Roach Horn on the way right now also for Scarlett. Somewhat on the earlier side, but here we go. Drop's going to come into the main base. So the Overlords are fanning out, but not quite in time to catch that medevac. Heading back behind the mineral line. Layer tech starting up. Scarlett starts working away at that Queen and the Cyclone, or sorry, the medevac and the Cyclone. Has to retreat out of the main base with all those drones, rallying in those lings. Remember, the Roaches are not going to be coming out for a little bit of time. The Queen having to give up the position on that spawning pool. This is getting a little bit dangerous.
This is actually doing so much more damage, even if it doesn't get the spawning pool. But if it gets out of, oh, the Helling's the natural.
Oh.
Okay, she does see them coming, but she doesn't have a lot of units. Her links have actually been all consumed defending against the Cyclones. So there's nothing speedy to catch these Hellions.
Cyclone's still alive. It's gonna actually kill the last Queen as well. The Hellions are still alive. Sure, the Roaches are here, but the damage has been done. Zombie up 17 drones killed off. It's not even drones left to kill in the main base for the most part. So the Hellion finally retreats down over to the natural, but Scarlett is down to just 42 workers after having lost 17.
You know how I brought up that comeback against Hearthstone?
Yeah.
It's gonna have to be a comeback in this game. That was a devastating blow. That was, I mean, I want to say it's too much greed actually. So one, the Overlord was in position, as you pointed out.
Yeah.
That was seconds of difference, or just different rally position. But then, you know, she did not have a lot of lings. She was depending on the Queens being in the right position, the Hellions, like last game, kind of just like being on the edge of the creep, and didn't have enough lings to chase down the Hellions. The Roaches spawned a little bit late, and that was also a nice scout, by the way, for uThermal to see that our Roaches.
Yeah.
Acid Plant's pretty popular for Roaches, I feel, so I think he's going to assume that it is going into Roaches, not just that they were there for precaution.
Now, it may be a little bit deceptive because you'll look at those workers and you'll say, oh, well, Scarlett's, she's doing fine. She's got 56 workers. uThermal has 48 or 49. But, I mean, you do notice all the small little things, slightly faster upgrades there going up for uThermal. Looks like Scarlett did manage to get up those Evo chambers. And SCV on creep somehow manages to make its way into the main base for a scout. I mean, this is the most bold and also the most James Bond SCV I've ever seen.
Is it going to escape? Did it die? No, it's right there. Is it? Okay, no, it's not going to escape. Oh, boy. So the other...
What if it made it out?
That would be a James Bond SCV. So the other thing I was going to note that she's a little bit greedy on is there's no cautionary spore crawlers. Sometimes he's like, especially on Aspen, like one maybe in the natural or maybe like, but the point is like you kind of figure Liberator harassment's going to come down, so usually useful to even get one. Not going to happen here, but she's at least on top of the Liberator this time.
You have to cut some corners after the earlier losses.
Oh, for sure.
So
Yeah.
I do like it if she's able to keep those Queens in position.
Yeah, I meant like with the Cyclone drop, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So uThermal was very scared. He saw the Roaches pop, and he figured like there might be a potential counter, but there wasn't. So that's why the bunker's there. You can just salvage it later on. There still should be somewhat of a worry. Like the funny thing is that in the same vein that not having enough units hurt her, it also did mean that there was probably a lot of larva going back into the dronings immediately. You're right, the drone gun's not ideal at any point in this game for TvZ, but it's like, it's weird that she didn't actually lose 50 lings as well, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, she has been able to get up to 77 drones now, so if uThermal isn't really going to put the pressure on anytime soon, she has been able to just get up to that number and actually still making a few more drones safely, then
Wow.
maybe she will kind of get that comeback that she was hoping for.
You know, if you can fit in the right amount of extreme greed with the just right, barely
It's a very
amount,
fine line to walk.
It is, but it's one that she is certainly accustomed to. She's a very exciting player, and part of it is because she gets in maybe some bad spots and then is able to recover. She's going into some Baneling, so it's not just Roaches, which I'm happy to see, because just Roaches isn't necessarily bad, as much as I want to say that they are. They're not. But they are like, they really become a numbers game, I feel. Like they're only rarely do the Corrosive Biles seem to really change the pace, if you're behind, that is. So I like the Banelings, you know, a little bit of creep spread, you know, a back attack, a surround, and suddenly the less army supply of Scarlett actually doesn't look so bad, but she's managed to keep tabs with the army supply with uThermal for now.
Yeah, Scarlett also pretty quick on starting off that +2 Carapace upgrade. Also going for a +1 melee. It looks like she wants to start kind of rounding out her composition a little bit, adding on a lot more of those lings to complement those Roaches. That is going to allow uThermal to get up his own 2-2 as he also starts cleaning up a lot of the creeps. Actually getting a lot done with that.
It's a decent amount for sure.
This is the active creep tumor.
Yeah, that always stings. That is a lot of Ravagers. There's no particular timing that she'd be hitting, but she might want to go ahead and try and just corral uThermal. I mean, uThermal has not been very aggressive after that first attack that did so much, right? So that's why she's gotten away with as much droning as she's been able to. But
a lot of banelings too. So
yeah,
looks like she really wants to commit to some big aggression.
I guess so. The upgrades aren't going to be too spectacular,
Pretty far
but
away. Also, I mean, Scarlett's in the middle of getting +2 carapace and +1 melee, so it's a little bit surprising, but she's gonna go for it anyways. Into the siege tank line. It's very well protected. Scarlett, I don't think you want to fight this.
But she might want to try and get a cancel on the 4th base. Yeah,
She's very close to it, but
yeah, I don't know if it's actually worth continuing to invest in here because every single time those banelings roll forward, they get sniped.
well, actually, the Corrosive Biles.
There we go.
She does not only get the 4th base, but it was very weird too because uThermal was having a hard time making it through his own choke point from his 4th base. So the Corrosive Biles actually zoned him out really well.
Yeah, that's true. Ends up going, I think, okay for her, and uThermal's still not quite ready to push. He obviously wanted to get a 4th base in the same way that her upgrades weren't exactly timed out for this. Neither were uThermal's, and actually, by being continuously aggressive, she might be able to find a 2-1-1 timing against just a 1-1, but it was like literally a 10-second timing. I don't think you're gonna hit that.
Yeah, and the timing is gone, guys. But she's gonna still go up that ramp. Siege tanks do cover a good chunk of this ramp. It looks like Scarlett, realizing that, is gonna decide to back off. Those Corrosive Vials are really important for her to either be able to land or at least zone out some units because she's invested so much into so many Ravagers, and now we end up seeing Infestation Pit coming down alongside that Spire.
I think this might be a really, really good move. uThermal is clearly, like, he's going for this, like, perfect anti-Roach and Baneling army. You know, you get a decent number of tanks. He's not really traded out very many of them by not being aggressive. Just waiting for his max out, his upgrades. And then it's very difficult for Scarlett to take an army like that, assuming she doesn't get an amazing surround. But if you can get to Broodlords, the tank-based army is just simply not ideal. And you know they've invested so much into the tanks that, you know, they think they have a good push. They probably aren't going to have any starports available or Ghost Academy or something like that, right? But this Greater Spire is such a long ways away. She actually hasn't started the Hive, so.
Yeah, Scarlett is a bit of a ways away, and uThermal's already starting to push across the map. Now, Scarlett has been able to respread a lot of that creep spread actually pretty quickly, but it's just because she has individual single creep tumors covering a lot of area. Scarlett gonna try and pull uThermal back with a bit of a counter swing here. The Marines very bright position, but the Banelings come rolling on in there. Scarlett takes care of some of the siege tanks, but loses a lot in the process.
Oh, it's so scary. Like, if she should never give away all of her Banelings. And I think she very much knows that, right? But if she ever did, those Ravagers are going to be chased down, no problem. But I love the idea of trying to just buy more time. If she does it like 1 or 2 more times, I think uThermal will start being like, well, why are you doing this for other than trying to win?
Yuta's going to be coming down. She's not just going to stick around and try and say, let's get up that Greater Spire immediately. The Hive Tech is, of course, on the way, but the Muta's maybe an interesting way to, I don't know, buy time and maybe throw uThermal a little bit off the scent.
Yeah, I feel like Rogue has done this with some success in the past, so it might just work. Well, it's funny because it won't really throw him off the scent, but it will be another thing that he has to pull back on.
But these siege tanks keep getting some really money shots on those Banelings, on the Ravagers. That army count for Scarlett starting to dwindle a little bit. She's remaking a lot of those lings. She's got some of those mutas. Where are they going to end up being utilized?
I guess, well, okay, they're going to go to the main.
Okay.
But they could also be, they could try if they're in high numbers to kill some of the tanks. There's so many that she's almost guaranteed to be able to find some to snipe.
Yeah. There's so many tanks, though, like you said. 2-2 is going to be finishing up here for Scarlett, but this is getting really, really dangerous. The Muta is getting to the main base, going to be able to pick up a handful of these SCVs, but this, more than anything else, might just prompt uThermal to try and go for and commit to the attack sooner rather than later.
He needs to be very careful because he is so dependent on the siege tanks to help him out that he can't just run forward with them on siege. Obviously, he's on creep still. That's another issue, but Scarlett, like, those mutas are not buying any more time. She's gonna have to take a good engagement.
Oh, but here we go. She's coming in from 2 different sides. So many Banelings rolling on in, getting half the advantage of that creep spread. The Marines kiting back, though, cleaning up most of those Banelings. Did Scarlett buy enough time? She's only got 3 Banelings left over, 5 Ravagers, and a lot of Lings in production, but those are Lings that are not here, Zombie Grub.
This situation, she used most, if not all, of her Banelings, and that's when the Ravagers just go down instantly. uThermal, I do believe, is gonna be able to 2-0 Scarlett to advance out of the group in first place, but she will not be out. She has another shot against Harsum, but it does look like this is not going to be her series.
Yeah, she may have a lot of drones, but that's not going to be able to do it. uThermal takes the 2-0, repeats Valencia, and moves on to the playoffs.
Gee, well done. There's no argument against uThermal's performance, and I do believe that
Really
it deserves
strong.
a lot of credits as a story in this Montreal. But yeah, like I said, Scarlett's not out of it yet. Not too happy with the games, the way they went. There was some potential for a comeback there, but that earlier drop just was not supposed to do that much damage.
Yeah, I think it really was the beginning of all of the endings that we ended up seeing coming. Now, Scarlett, like you said, not going to be out of it. She is going to go on to face off versus Hearthstone in that kind of a decider match, but I believe that uThermal is going to be over on the main stage with Sue. Take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. Congratulations, uThermal. You schlappied both of your opponents 4-0 to move on. Yeah, that was really bad. But let's talk about that series and this day overall, because you looked really dominant there in both against Hearthstone as well as Scarlett.
Against Scarlett, honestly, I don't think it was that dominant. I think it was pretty close. Against Hearthstone was a bit different story, but I was pretty confident coming into this group. People told me it was going to be difficult. I was like, well, that's just your opinion, and I'm happy I advanced.
Now, despite the fact that you said it wasn't a dominant victory, it was still a 2-0, which is actually an exact repeat of what happened at Valencia. Group stage 3, you went up against Scarlett. It was a 2-0 back then as well. So what do you think it is about this matchup with you against her that it always seems to work out?
I'm really not sure, honestly. TvZ is actually my worst matchup, but every time I play the tournaments, it goes so well for me. So I'm really not sure what it is. Maybe that I get so much practice against her. But yeah, for this matchup, I think it was a way different series than back at Valencia. Back at Valencia, I just won based on strategies, really. And this time it was more of a actual brawl, I think.
Well, I know that this event here in Montreal is really important for a lot of players, including yourself. Currently, you're ranked 11th in the WCS standings, which means it's sort of make or break time for you. So coming into this, I've heard rumors that you're feeling super confident. You're feeling in shape. Is this true?
I'm not sure, honestly. I have a long way to go. That's more it. I feel confident in myself, but I still feel like I have a long way to go in this tournament to make it to BlizzCon. So I can't drop my guard just yet.
Well, I know a lot of fans out there are Team Shibu all the way, so congratulations again on your 4-0 victory, coming out first in this group. Let's head back to the desk.
Thank you very much, Mix, and congratulations, uThermal, taking a fantastic match there, really dominating in this TvZ series. Gentlemen.
Yeah, well played. Scarlett went with the Ling, Bang Lane Muta style in that first game, which I really like, especially on a big map like that. But one of the reasons you don't see it as often is on the defensive side. It's brittle, it's tough. You have to make all the Bang Lane connections. You got to counterattack right away. You have to be on top of everything. And I don't even think Scarlett necessarily missed a beat where we look at her and be like, that was really poor play. I thought she played great. But uThermal rising to the occasion again. And I love it that, you know, Stu asked a great question, like, why is this true? And he's like, I don't know. I would love it if I just fell into success and people are like, how are you doing? You're like, I have no idea. It's just working out. That's great.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see him on form there. I mean, as you said, if the fight doesn't work right for the Zerg, sometimes it's brutal where those Marines spread back in that giant arc and the Banelings are like, just let us connect. They don't quite make it and things get a bit awkward. But Scarlett was playing well, though. She had, you know, the first game was really, really neck and neck for a while with her clearing out the natural in third, but uThermal was just a little bit too strong with his push.
Yeah, did a great job of holding on there, and he makes it out. Our first player that we're seeing go into the playoffs over here in the WCS Montreal. So congratulations to uThermal. Gentlemen, I believe you've been following some other matches that have been taking place over here in Group Stage 3.
I watched both of DNS versus Elazer's games. It was a 2-0 in favor of DNS, which is a huge, not as huge upset, but a pretty big one, especially with the form Elazer came in here with. But both games were really nice play by DNS. One was a cheeky kind of adept timing with a fakish third. And then the other game was a long air toss, Golden Armada, good old stuff. And it turns out, even if you have about 20 infestors chaining those fungals, if you have nothing else that hits carriers, they will not get the job done, as it turns out.
Carriers are pretty good.
They're pretty good.
We've chained 12 fungals in a row. The shields are almost gone. It's like, ah.
What about you, Pig? What's going on over there?
So I'm in Hut vs. Clem now, but I just finished watching Stefano vs. Cyril. First game was really cool, you know, to see that match. But here we go. Hut vs. Clem is playing at the moment. I guess we'll hop in game and see a couple of Reaper skirmishes.
Well, if that's not TVT, I don't know what is.
This is the losers match of this group as well. Hut went down 1-2 to Jon Snow, and Clem went down 0-2 to Haas. So those two guys are playing the winners match right now in this one.
Somewhere out there, Artosis is cackling, and his fingers are like that. I don't know what it's called, but it's like this.
He's that close to securing that spot, yeah. But back on the point of Cyril versus Stefano. Cyril did take that one down 2-0, but Stefano was very close in the second game, brought out a nice timing attack, almost broken.
After Stefano beat Tude Ming, by the way, another ZVZ. That was the winner match.
The hope is alive. He might actually be the second best Zerg vs. Zerg player in the world. He's bringing the fight to Cyril.
He's trying.
What if he was?
He's getting there. He's leveling it up.
I heard Fear Dragon, our resident NA bias expert and total not bully target, has told us that apparently Semper beat Neeb. That's what he said.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Neeb was down 0-1 in his next match, I thought. Or maybe that was that series. But
That might be that match. We're going to take a look at the groups, but I think I heard him correctly, and I'm like, that's crazy. Semper has literally only been playing TVP all day long so far. This is the match you guys just talking about. Cyril going
not
over
updated.
Stefano.
Cyril's 2-0. He's out of here.
Yeah.
He stopped by, had a burrito, played about 10 minutes of StarCraft, and was like, you want me to come back tomorrow? And they're like, yeah. I was like, all right.
Nice. And let's take a look at Group B, Special and Raynor. Not surprised to see those guys up there. I guess we're just waiting to see at that point which one of them won in the winners match.
Yeah.
That one could still be going on. Special does play mech occasionally and getting some long games there. Semper taking that first match against Neeb, and Cyan taking the first match against Mana.
That's
Semper,
crazy.
Cyan, our winners match here. Who would have guessed?
You know, I actually thought Mana would be going out in first place in this group. Neeb was saying his conditions a little bit rough around the edges right now from his jet lag, and his flight was a bit tough. But Cyan, I mean, we've talked about him over the years, and he's had his ups and then suddenly downs. He's disappeared for a while. Maybe he's back.
I think that's worth mentioning as well. Neeb played his GSL matches, came straight here, and he got stuck somewhere like in his travel. I think he just got in today.
Yeah.
Pretty brutal. So unfortunate for him. And as you were saying, this is not completely up to date. Haas going up against Jon Snow.
And Jon Snow took out Hut, one of the absolute best Australian players, which means they're in the top 25 North American players.
Yeah, that's technically correct.
Yeah.
Your response, pig.
They all play on the same server.
Just wait till you see Hut proxy 2-factory siege tank and take you out on the ladder, Jeff, and then we'll see where
it'll
you
be
are
hard for him to pull his probes with 300 ping, but we'll take a look at the next group. A laser and DNS shapes up for a nice ZVP in that winner's match, with probe going up against Xanster. Just PvZ goodness all around.
I think those are the two favorites. Xanster usually makes it about this far, and then there's that like tipping point where Xanster a couple of times has gone further and really shocked us and shown he's a top European Zerg. But then most often he hits a guy like a laser or a DNS who's seeming to be playing in form. His series against the laser was quite good, which I do believe, by the way, means he advanced out of this group. I didn't realize it was a winner match, but he did go to laser, so he's out of here.
Oh, nice.
It's cool to see DNS back in form.
Shadowne beat Big Gabe. He made it out. Who would have guessed?
Shadowne.
Can I just say,
he's been doing a lot of wins.
The French are competing quite well here, and Semper is French-Canadian. Is it so good?
Are they cheating?
For the French here?
Is it just, it's the aura, it's the power.
Something in the water.
They're channeling.
It's the Frenchness in the water.
Yeah. A little bit of poutine, maybe, powering up the players there. That's insane, though. Shadowne, and he crushed the earlier group stage as well. He's been beating really good players today. So
that is really, that's definitely the most surprising result.
One of those players
we've
eliminated,
seen.
by the way. That says 1-1. So a couple of these updates here.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting through.
It's a riddle for us.
We're putting them through as we get those results. Of course, we just saw this winner's match take place. uThermal is out. That means that Scarlett is going to play against Hearthstone.
Well, he's out as in he advanced, by the way.
Yeah, out as in out. Yeah.
It's not normally how we talk
by
about
out, I mean he's in the playoffs. So he's out of the group. He made it out.
He has failed to not lose.
Yeah, he wasn't knocked out. He made it out. Two very important distinction to make.
Good job, Nate. We got there.
That's why I'm the host. We've got Galazar won his first match here. Still waiting some of the other results from Group H. Namshar did lose that first match. And Galazar's TvZ is always been pretty good, though. So, not surprising there, I'd say.
Yeah.
I do like his TvZ.
Yeah. Galazar, I think, fairly recently announced that he's going to focus on school and stuff as well, and
Nice.
He's going to be competing
and actually, I'm getting it right now. Oh my God, Lambo beat time. Lambo beat time. Our next match is Galazar versus Lambo. It's another TvZ.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Just TvZ after TvZ, and I'm just over here like the hungry hippo
They
that
crunched
I am.
the numbers.
Give me all those
They crunched the numbers on who wanted to watch what matchup.
Everybody.
And TvZ won every damn time.
All of it.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series. More Terran versus Zerg coming up next. We'll be right back.